Hey everyone, hey and welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume, yet another edition of a new series on the channel, Classic Event Rewind. We're basically going back with a guest and we're looking at classic events in a rewinding fashion. We're revisiting the battles, you know, reliving the raw nostalgia. So definitely for today, I think, as well. You know, so many memories attached to so many of these battles. This is TTT7. You know, a North event, you know, Chronicle helmed. It had some incredible battles on the card, and today we're just going to go through and recollect with a very special guest, someone who was there, someone who battled, someone who always great to have on the show. Pamflit, how's it going, man?
Yes, Tom, how you doing, brother?
I'm well, man. You just returned from Amsterdam, you said.
Yeah, a nice little ferry trip over the water. It's one of the perks in living in the northeast.
Right. I mean, did you taste the delights? What did you do when you were there?
I mean, you know, I'm sort of getting on a bit in terms of age, so it's nice to just dip your toe into the Amsterdam environment, but I don't think I could handle much more than just a day at the moment. Okay. It's quite a wild place to be.
Yeah. Well, talking of wild places, you know, TTT7, Don't Flop. What an exciting prospect at this time. This really was. Buzzing. Wasn't it? It just... I
picked this event because if you look at all the events around this time, they were all buzzing as each other, but this event in particular had so many battles that hit view counts higher than they should have ever got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was the pinnacle in terms of the seesaw from being the underground fad thing that excited some people to just this huge... you know, commonplace form of entertainment that it became. This is just before that hit.
Yeah, and, you know, watching it back as well, one of the things that I love, one of the things that I can't get enough of, is the intro to all these videos. Blizzard's beat, which you know, the logo's over the top. And I don't know about you, it's a very colourful event. There's something about the backdrop. There's something about what people are wearing. There's something that's, you know what I mean? It's very bright.
I mean, I'd go so far as to say that the large view count from the battles there were in part due to the fact that people had seen the Lunar 2-on-2 and recognised that background as being from the same event where this great battle happened. So that it would have picked up a lot of passing traffic just on that motif alone.
Yeah, opens on Calcium Kid as well. So he sort of hangs as a thumbnail if you have the video on in the background, which is great. And it just, it has those sort of bright graffitied walls. Often it has yourself in the background, rocking the South shirt.
Do you know what though? Back in that day, there were so many noticeable characters, so many people that caught your eye that it was like it was just a big box of Skittles, and like we all had our own unique look. Yeah. So that's why you can make these intros full of like this guy's on it and this guy's on it and this guy on it. Yeah. Because we were all on it. Do you know what I mean? We'd go to be the same sort of 8, 10, 12, 14 people, but we just be at every event every month. Just loved it.
Yeah, there's a lot more, as we're going to get through, there are a lot more in-jokes. The scene feels closer, and it feels like something you want to be part of as well as you watch it. There's this desirability.
It really was. It was. You felt like, especially being in Manchester, which has housed so many sort of classic modern movements in terms of music. We did feel. I mean, we weren't thinking that at the time. We were enjoying it at the time, but to look back on it, we were part of something I think that was very special in this environment. It was, you know, it was about going and sort of seeing your friends, and your friends weren't just the battlers; they were the fans that would turn up every month. And why would they turn up? Because they were real fans. Do you know what I mean? They were real fans that were really passionate about it. Yeah. And we were all equal. We were all, you know, some of the people that were at every event started judging the battles and then became a closer part of the scene. From that, and I think that maybe lacks. There's so many people involved now that you don't have the same core crew of people who love what they're doing, being involved at the heart of it.
And this was your 10th, 11th battle on Don't Flop, something around that mark by this point. I mean, how had it grown from your first battle to the TTT7?
I mean, I was lucky because I come at the peak, in the first peak, where it went from being, I mean, I was at Blood, my first ever event to go to was Blood in the Water 2, where Unanimous battled Innuendo. Right. And from then on, and I mean, Ed Sheeran was at that event for crying out loud. You know, I mean, the biggest pop star in the world was playing fiddle to a rapper that didn't even turn up that day in Cannabis. So That's what we're talking about in terms of an explosion of something appearing out of nothing. Obviously, we know, or they never achieved anything that close to what Ed Sheeran did, but it was, you could see the talent in the room. Do you know what I mean? As a fan watching, with Innuendo, who underperformed, Unanimous, who overperformed, then you had the 2-on-2 Tenchu and Lego smashing it against the Scottish guys, and you had Flex Digits versus O'Shea. So it was certainly a good event to make that my first. Do you know what I mean? Just put it that. And it only went uphill from there. So I didn't really see your sort of slightly grimier O'Shea versus Lego in a pub in the north type events. I was sort of hit it when it was on the come up. But that's why I used to love going to Manchester, because you did get that slightly more grimy, more raw feeling in a venue, as opposed to London, which was a bit more shiny and well presented. So
this is Saturday, the 13th of August, 2011. Which is just a long time ago, really. We're recording this January 2018 for anyone listening in the future. And, even now, at the time of us looking back, it is dimensions, generations away from what Don't Flop ever was.
It was a happy time. We turned up to Manchester, the sun was shining. You see your mates. You work out. We got into Manchester. Work out how you're going to get to the venue. There was a parade, some kind of festival that marched past us that day. I believe someone's spoken about that event in the past.
Okay.
It felt like a celebration. Every event back then felt like a celebration, but this one in particular, I think there was nice weather, and everyone was just buzzing. It was a really exciting time for Don't Flop.
And this was Chronicle organised the whole thing, right? Oh, even says that in front of one of the battles.
Yes, I had a glance at the views on the Calcium battle, and it was like 77,000 views. The Calcium Kid versus Evila.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what I mean? That isn't that today. That wouldn't maybe get sort of 17,000 views just because of the climate. But at the time, 80,000 views. Now, Chronicle was putting those events together up there. And whereas maybe he was getting some of the takings, I mean, who am I to speculate? But you can look at maybe Chronicle's position as being, I've got you 1 million, 2 million, 3, 4 million views off this one event alone, that you've earned sort of 5, 6, 7, 800 pounds from. And I don't know the details, Tom. I'm merely speculating. No. But you can see sort of where the house started to crumble due to its size.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And out of interest, you always see these things on Battle Rap cards, and I'm like, did these actually happen? Were there raffle giveaways?
Oh, I couldn't tell you, Tom. There was so much going on. Chronicle wanted to be sort of. I think he knew he needed to branch out of battle rap eventually, and he was trying to put on these multifaceted hip hop events. But when you saw graph writers or break dancers or b-boys on the flyer, 9 times out of 10 you knew you were going to get there and wasn't going to happen, because you could barely string the battles together.
Yeah.
People would turn up late. People wouldn't turn up at all. People would choke. Do you know what I mean? I'll always defend her, because you need someone up the front who's prepared to be the cunt and prepared to sort of lay the law down in terms of, we need to do it like this, because if the inmates are on the asylum, then you're not going to progress. So I've give a lot of credit to her for those early days and being a real ringleader to just a bunch of young idiots who weren't getting paid at the end of the day to turn up and perform. So we had no incentive in that regard. Pedro had no incentive to not stay up all night the night before and then hope that he got to the venue through mere luck. Do you know what I mean? And
this was at the Saki Bar. I mean, talk to me about it being a venue to perform in, a venue to watch battles in.
See, the first maybe 3 events, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 even events were I can't remember what it was called now, but it was a venue that has been renamed recently that's kind of under a tunnel. Maybe it was called the Tunnels or the Arches or something like that originally, and then it changed its name. So I was used to all battle events in Manchester taking place in that building. So suddenly, and it was just a short walk from what's the Manchester bus stop called anyway, right there. So that was only a short walk. So suddenly I turned up in Manchester with my mate one day, and we found out we had to get 2 trams and a bus to the middle of nowhere. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the middle of nowhere, but it seemed like that when you don't know Manchester. So all of a sudden it was a new venue, and it was a really good. Basically, it was the same experience as before. in that regard. And I think, as you said, and you've said previously, the just the colour and the aesthetic of it really set it out, I think.
Yeah, it does. It has a TV in the background as well, which occasionally has like footy highlights playing, but it's not distracting in any way. It just adds an ambient glow. And the assortment of the audience as well. A lot of people point to the girl quite noticeably as well, and there's just other members. And Ryan Maxwell or someone like that. I think someone from Hip Hop Kings is there as well.
Yeah, Ryan Maxwell, he was always there. Patty Boy. And even just the guys that I never really... I was always too self-conscious to go around introducing myself to people at these events. I always just assume I don't know them until I've sort of got to know them, if that makes sense. Sure. So there was a lot of heads that still, to this day, I wouldn't be able to tell you their name, but I still see them at every event. They'd still be there, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The backdrop. And we begin with Toker versus Analyst, which, if you're a modern day fan, you know, if Gemini got you into battle rap or Holiday Dawn or something, you ain't gonna know who these guys are. I wasn't really aware of them, to be honest.
Yo, the slowest sperm that ever made it to a lady's womb. 9 months of pain and all that came was you. I'd have been like the morning after pill. I'd have killed my baby too. At least that would have prevented you and Fidget from making tunes. And you look like Klaus the Fish from American Dad.
Like you in Blackpool all those years ago, with this battle, I was on the fence. Because no offence, coming out of retirement for Smacky Spencer's a fun event. This plump and red puffing scat, fucking mess. Huffing cess late at night in a grubby vest. If you're trying to mimic Uncle Howie, you got stuck on Uncle Ben. Replace the smack for rice, you stupid gobby mess. Gobby cunt. Looking like Mr. Blobby's mum with the brains in Forrest Gump. No. Drop another horrorcore album, nobody's bothered, son. I mean, it's Uncle Fester with early balding. A child molester, Captain Spaulding.
I've not written them in order, sort of my notes on these, but literally the first round of the first Analyst Toker battle is tell the bouncer story and tell the Toker story. So
go.
So the bouncer story, basically, Analyst. I mean, I don't want to go into his past or anything, or any issues that he may have experienced in his life, but he was. I think he was in a bad place at the time. You could tell by his intro, and just basically, I mean, there's not a huge amount of story involved, but I did hear that he had a near fight with the bouncers. He passed out on a bench and spat on them or something. So
wow.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he was just drunk, do you know what I mean? And I think that reflected in a performance that was maybe a little angry.
Very angry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've since spent time with him, and he's calmed down a lot, and he seems in a lot better place, and you know, which is good at the end of the day. But yeah, so I mean, so he was a bit of a wild card.
Yeah, Kron says he's making his unexpected return. So
yeah. I mean, he was a bit of a wild card basically. I don't know him too well, so I can't really comment. The Toker story, I've got Toker's lovely. Tell the Toker story,
right?
I mean, just because he's lovely doesn't.
Yeah, I like Toker actually. He comes across well in this battle.
Yeah, he seems like a sort of nice guy. Do you know what I mean? A nice guy, but then nice guys don't necessarily always make the best battle rappers. True. And he was one of the early guys I looked at and thought, well, if he's doing it, I should give it a go. You know what I mean? Okay. That was my opinion of Toker. I didn't think. I remember Psychosis quite comfortably beat him, and I just always thought, I hope I get to battle Toker because he looks like someone I could beat. Saying that, Tom, he was really good in this first round. I think they both had really good first rounds. Yeah. Tight multis from Analyst. Everything was getting reaction back then.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because I think people understood the technique more. Analyst, whatever you say about him as a person, he understood the technique of a battle rapper in terms of you need to say whatever it takes to get that crowd to cheer and support you and to get the ball rolling in terms of them reacting.
Joseph couldn't beat me in his Technicolor Dreams. It's like, what does that even mean? But it gets reaction.
It gets a reaction, exactly, and that's all you're there to do at the end of the day. That's the only reason you're there, is to get a reaction, and I wish more people understood that. It doesn't matter how you do it. But he is tight with it. He is tight with it in this first round. He does clearly understand the format of being a battle rapper. This is the hardest I've ever seen Toker come in the first round.
Yeah. The sort of Mr. Blobby's mum with the brains of Forrest Gump.
Yes.
Going in on his drug use. Analyst had mentioned his old heroin needles in the first as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this fashion, maybe our listeners will. In 2011, someone's wearing a type of shirt in the crowd. And do you remember those shirts? And it'd be like, the neck was a body of a character. So like Mickey Mouse or something like that. Like, well, the guy's got a Mickey Mouse one, but there's like a Hulk one or so. Like, there was a certain Topshop fashion there. So I love how it dates this era, as does the writing to a certain extent. Analyst has a huge flip in the second.
Yes, I've got that here. About the Uncle Fester flip. Yeah.
Crazy.
See, what that is Analyst is one of those guys. I say I've met him a few times, and every time I've met him, we've been freestyle battling. He's one of those guys that just freestyle battles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's been called Uncle Fester before, and he's come up with that before. But what I've already said, you do anything to get that reaction. And if you've spat a freestyle bar before, a flip, there's nothing stopping you from doing it on a bigger stage at all. I applaud it because I don't want it to be lost in time. I don't want to never hear it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've got no problem with people, but it was so perfect as a battle rapper and someone who uses flips. I do know that he didn't come up with that on the spot. I know for a fact, just in his heart of hearts. But it was still dope and a great way to start that round.
He says, "Be like Joe Davis and quit ahead of your time." What does that mean?
Joe Davis was a young kid who was part of that initial wave.
Right.
So you can never take that away from him because it must have taken loads of guts before it became popular to go and just turn up in front of people you don't know and perform raps. Do you know what I mean? That's why I got respect for Jay Toker as well. You know, these guys were there at the start and they were doing it big. But Joe Davis, he was a young kid, and I think he got beaten by Def. They had a £50 on the line battle.
Right.
And Definition beat him, and I think he probably just retired after that.
Okay. I mean, he gets mentioned a lot, Joe Davis. It's around
he does. Also, what you'll kind of notice is the guys that are around a certain guy's level on the card will be insulting each other. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but I come up in a lot of the battles.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. But that's what we were all throwing insults at each other. Do you know what I mean? It was all a case of I'm battling this guy this week, but I could be battling that guy next month because we're battling every month. So I'm going to set out my feelers and see if he wants it from me. And then if he flips back in his battle, then that's a battle sorted for next. Do you know, it was like the wrestling. It's like we were booking ourselves into next month because we all wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So we're throwing down insults to 4, 5, 6, 7.
It. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay Toker says that he ladles smack from a massive vat, him consuming it all. Someone with anal in their name has something to say. It's not as great of a second. It's kind of deflated a little bit from the flip.
This is his second. I've got Jay Toker looking very gangly and awkward.
Yeah, doesn't really get anything off.
Yeah, sort of his arms were doing different things to his legs, and he didn't quite know whether he was coming or going.
Yeah.
And Analyst to get in the second round as well. It was. That's his Analyst second, isn't it?
Yeah. So Joe Davis goes second generally. So.
Right. Okay. But I mean, there wasn't much else in this battle once that had finished. I've got a bad 18 punchline.
yes. Lose face quicker than A-Team in a maze, and he's like, work it out. And it's like, well.
Let's see, they've both lost the crowd at this point. I think I've given it to Toker because he tried harder at the end.
There isn't. I think Toker has an O'Shea quality punch, early O'Shea quality punch. I bring the fire to tunes, he brings the fire to spoons.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. That is good, but that can't carry like a performance. I think they both started really well, and it just got washed out. It got washed out halfway, and you can tell Kron doesn't look happy as well.
Yeah.
You can see a look in Kron's eye because he lives and dies off of the performances of the battles, and well, he did at that time anyway. Not being a battler, being a promoter. Do you know what I mean? And if it's a shit show, then they're not going to be happy. You can tell when they're happy. Same with Urge. You know what I mean? You can tell he's content with what's going on, and when he's not.
Yeah. And he says like in the Lunar Sea battle, there's a classic. During the battle, so it's like he does have that eye for it definitely. But 5-0 decision goes to Jay Toker. They hug it out at the end. It's kind of a interesting battle for a show like this going through the event, but as a battle just to watch. Probably not one of the more interesting ones, but I will check out both of their back catalogues. Calcium Kid is next.
You lure school kids back to your stool pit with promises of cool tricks, but ends up in nude pics. Someone's daddy abused him. You like tulips, cruise ships, and lube dicks. I'll make you chew bricks, swinging 2 sticks like mute chicks in kung fu flicks, bitch. Pamflit! 5 seconds. Right. Fucking... You malicious kid sister that lives with you, you're so dirty, your hand gave you chlamydia. Fuck rap, this clown just acts. Oh, the hobo from Oxford Road called, he wants his look back. And his bus pass. See, if it did look the 45 Kelsey, oh, fuck that, man. No. Oh, shit, no. See, I invite the guns to talk, but it seems that that's the vibe. Because tonight you're going to watch your whole life flash past your eyes.
I know that we're both huge fans of this guy. And, you know, he had that star quality early on. Like, I think a lot of people, I myself included, didn't realise how far he went back, actually, and how long he'd actually been in the scene when I first got involved. But this is a great early performance from him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at him and you look at Lunar C, I think it's just purely delivery and attitude that Lunar C's got that sets him apart, because the quality of lines and the consistency of them is... you know, they're up there. They're up there. I think even Calcium might have more hard-hitting lines than Lunar in a battle. Yeah. It's just Lunar has harder hitting ones when they do hit. But I think Calcium... I tried writing Calcium's hot lines in this first round down, and it was impossible because it was just line. There was no hesitation in it. Was just a barrage of one-liners, witty one-liners, set up, punch.
He just sort of, every round, he just steps out of frame and says something just absurd, brilliantly.
And he's got the facials as well. He's so sort of bemused, and he sometimes might look a bit cute. And you know what I mean? It's like he's got this smirky grin on his face.
Yeah, he's sort of time traveller swag. Like
I find this as funny as you do.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you know, fad my last girlfriend to Barracuda fish because that stupid bitch couldn't find a shoe to fit, and it, you know, just this trail, as you say.
And as Lunar being the top guy then as well, to have him standing there in awe looking at Cal. Laughing at everything, because ultimately when I watch my battles back and when I watch other people's battles back, I look out for guys like Kruger and that who were so influential. If you can make Kruger laugh, if you can make Lunar laugh, you know, you're doing something right. And Calcium, every line Calcium was smashing it. Yeah,
and like you say, Kruger is a constant fixture in the background as well.
It's awesome, barometer.
So young as well, you know, and just
Kruger's still so young.
And he still is, but I mean, like it's just, you know. I couldn't believe the rape tape would come from that guy, but shout out all that. Shout out Lazy EP as well. I don't know if that was out by this time. It's sort of maybe around this time, August 2020.
The Lazy EP, no, he was trying to sell it to me. As I said, my story was trying to sell it to me, and I couldn't believe Kruger was, you know, here talking to me. That was To the Test 2. No, 3. To the Test 3.
3. Okay. So yeah, been established for a while. So yeah, and Evila, I mean, I didn't really remember Evila going back to this, to be honest with you. I was like, well, who's this guy again? And I can't really remember him now, to be honest. I don't think he's great in this.
I battled him 3 times.
Right.
And I think I beat him 3 times as well, to be honest. I've got this being Evila's best performance in my eyes. I think he had some good lines. And I think what I like about Evila is he switches his cadence up. And I think that's an important thing to be able to do in terms of being a battle rapper, because you don't want to just be delivering 1-2 line, 1-2 line, 1-2 line, unless the bars are hard hitting and, you know, really quality, in which case you can get away with it. But I liked how Evila wouldn't always be the same formula. Do you know what I mean? He'd set it up differently. He'd roll in the middle. He might do a multi and then a semi multi and then finish it with a multi. So I really enjoyed that, and I think it was his best performance. He just needs to be more confident.
Yeah, what do you think of his DP scheme in the first?
I wasn't feeling that, to be honest.
No, sort of donkey punches, dog porn, dead people.
I mean, that's a stretch. Do you know what? That's not doing anything new to my brain. No. My brain's not going, oh wow, or yeah, I agree with that, or that's amazing. It's just like, yeah, that is certainly sort of initials of DP. Do you know what I mean?
But in Calcium Kid's second, you do visibly react to when he summons up the power of Banana Man.
Banana Man, yeah, that was absolutely sick. The whole thing.
Armored tanks, bombard your ranks.
Yeah, he starts it with your mother's lost weight as well, which just gets a Lunar reaction, and it's like it's so random. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think he's bringing up the Basil the Great Mouse Detective. And all that. It's so many random ideas and words that are being thrown at you, and it's like when you come across a meme, Kruger posted a picture of a Filofax that every kid used to have when I was a kid. And he got off the book club, and it really brought back that memory for me. And what Calcium does is just throw those memories at you, like Peter Kay.
Yeah.
Just like this, and you'll be like, oh yeah, whilst enjoying what he's saying.
Sure. Yeah, it's observational, but to a certain skewed level. Her mother eats dead sperm whales that wash up on beaches. Bitch breast.
I'll advise you to invest in adhesive to put back together for when I tear you to pieces. It's a setup line, but it's still so good.
Yeah. Saw your mom outside trying to breastfeed herself. You know, lots of good imagery here, and Evila seconds alright, goes into gay bars and says, "Ayla, calcium's good for your bones." Yeah,
see, he finished with an innuendo impression.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think he's doing really well. Yeah, I think he started off really well in that third Evila, and then he spat a pasteurised bar, right? And I think when he wrote that, he knew it wasn't good enough.
Yeah. Because
we all know that pasteurised is old.
Played out, yeah.
Wordplay, right? So that's what if I'd had to settle on that in terms of all the bars that I've got left to write for this guy, and I've kept that in, unless it's done in a unique way, then I would have sort of lost my focus too. And he definitely lost his focus at that point. And you can see when someone's confident, it's because they're confident in their bars. And I think he started off confident, and I think with that cliched bar, he fell off, and then he couldn't get back on again. And he, as I say, he finished with an innuendo impression. I think that's all that was at the end there. Yeah,
he struggled a bit. I mean, it is a played out milk punch. I actually have a milk punch of my own that I haven't used that I'll just use in the show. Right. When I let the semi skim, you're gonna lactose.
When I let the semi skin, you're gonna let the lactose.
You're gonna lactose.
Oh, you're gonna lactose.
I'm gonna shoot your foot.
Right, when I let the semi-skim...
Semi-skim milk. Okay, so Calcium talks about cold sores that look like coleslaw.
Cold sores that look like... Yeah, perfect. See, but he said cold sores that look like cold slaw.
Cold slaw.
It's not cold slaw,
no,
it's cold
slaw, yeah.
It's a nightmare. I've done that loads of times when you say the wrong words, and it just... And then people think you're an idiot for getting it wrong, but it's probably just that you just genuinely got the word wrong when you were spitting it.
Yeah.
So annoying. So I felt for him there, but you can still picture that lips looking like and cabbage.
Hell yeah, it's spot on. Yeah. And
needed to be done.
You and your mum have the same dad. You know, it's this kind of writing that is just explosive.
And it's that look on his face after he says it, like, you know, what else did you expect me to say?
And Evila does something in the third which is quite popular. I remember Jay Short doing this. I'm sure other battlers in this era done it. An punchline. Say like you're obsessed with the host. You know, anything that invoked that, again, was nitroglycerin. Yeah,
I did that in my first battle as well. It's just one of those things, isn't it? You just, you know, it's because if you're going to spit out words, I mean, he did it. He didn't do it like that. He was literally just saying, But then he even the chokes all the time anyway, so it's like, well, you always say as well, do you know what I mean? Right. Yeah, I mean, it was good. It got a reaction. Again, whatever you do or have to say to get reaction, do it or say it, because that's what you're there for. That's what the crowd's there for, to react. But I think that crowd was so hot at the time, they would have reacted to anything.
I mean, it's absolutely unanimous that, you know, Calcium wins in the end, you know, quite easily. Good to see Bloodstro judging, young Bloodstro. Yeah. Jazz music as well.
Calcium's peak, you know.
You think so?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. He had about 3 or 4 battles. I can't remember who he battled in. Was it the first to the test or the second to, or the third to the test? He battled someone, murdered them. He murdered about 3 or 4 at this time. I think when he started getting slightly bigger battles, I think he maybe put a bit more pressure on himself. But I think around this time, it was just coming naturally to him.
Yeah, I haven't seen him versus Ricky Riley. I need to check that one out.
Yeah, I think that was obscure.
That's pretty obscure one. Yeah.
Ricky Riley. Did I have Ricky Riley in my top 10 funniest?
No, you didn't.
Oh, that's a travesty, because genuinely, I used to post on the rap music forum, and I used to post things like Ricky Riley's just making me laugh here, guys. No one would respond, because no one cares about Ricky Riley in America, but for me.
Yeah. And definitely check out Lister's top 10 funniest Don't Flop battlers that me and Pamflit did earlier on. It went through you know, a ton of stuff. That was great. So this is another landmark battle, more for Calcium than anything, but yeah, really fun battle. The next one then is, quarterfinals of the Times Change tournament. It's a name that everyone will be familiar with, Chris Leese, versus Jista, who people might not know. I guess if I was to describe Jista, Pam, he's kind of like a fatter, angrier Chris Leese.
Someone asked me, are you rapping today? I'm like, yeah, against Jista. That lad that fancies O'Shea. He didn't mean skill when he happened to say, Chris, this is your biggest battle to date. I said, hey, give the fat bastard a break. Battling Jista, the 4th bald, fat rapper from Liverpool. Yo, calling me fat, man, that is a sin when your weight fluctuates every battle you're in. So, yeah, it's true. His conception is a pleasant tale. Starts somewhere like the set of Emmerdale. A man had just done a stretch in jail for raping a lady who was left impaled on a bed of 10-inch nails. She survived, though, giving birth to this very pale, hyperactive, chest all frail rapper working in telesales. Epic fail. I mentioned his chest because he's actually, true story, known for having panic attacks. So 1 minute he's having a snack, next minute, panic attack.
Yeah, I mean, sort of halfway through one of Chris Lee's rounds, he refers to him as being the 4th fat, bald rapper from Liverpool. Were you curious as to why he said that, considering Jista had a London accent? Because it confused me for ages.
Sure.
But obviously he'd moved there and set up shop there. I think he'd been there for a decade at the time, so he was technically from Liverpool. But he was a Londoner. But Jista, I mean, my sort of notes with Jista in terms of who he was, it's like even if he was sort of at the bottom, he was like in terms of big names back then, you're not at the bottom, do you know what I mean? But like, he didn't really exert himself in terms of trying to up his game once he did start getting bigger battles. But he was still so solid, in my opinion. He still knew how to battle rap. Do you know what I mean? He never let you down with his performances. It's just I don't think he sort of tried as hard as your O'Shea's and stuff. But it was still, I think, from top to bottom, the cards back then were spot on.
And this was Jista's, I don't know if you knew, Pam, this was Jista's last performance. Yeah,
see, as I said, he didn't really seem like he was concerned with trying to get better and better, but he was around at the time. He beat Soul. I mean, I've not seen that battle back in a while, but he beat Soul, do you know what I mean? So that says something about him.
Yeah, that was uploaded just a month before this. It's got 7,000 views currently. I don't remember that battle myself. I remember the name Jista and seeing it against Soul and Verse Tracker. It sort of sticks to you, but haven't seen the battle. I think he sort of falls apart is the problem with Jista, and Leese lasted, the testament to it. But Jista, he begins and he's quite vulgar, summertime, always stuck inside watching someone's son on Skype.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny enough. It's funny enough, but it's just it's not a wow bar. Do you know what I mean? It's not a wow bar. No. But then starting off, you don't always want to hit them straight away with a wow bar, so I'll let him off with that.
Yeah. He talks about Leese's band being called 4 Max or something like that.
Yeah, that was a good line. That was a good line, but I don't think he's got enough character to pull it off in terms of getting those big, like Chris Lee's. In terms of lyrics, you could almost say in some scenarios they do have similar quality lyrics, but it's just Chris Lee's outperforms him. So Chris Lee's would outperform anyone on that day.
Hell yeah. Leese is just, I mean, he is now, but back then he was just a real firebomb, wasn't he, of intensity, like something quite new, Yunan's on similar tracks perhaps, but Leese was so practiced at it.
He had an abundance of personality. He had too much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He was an explosion.
He spilled over, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what you want. That's who you want. And it was a surprise for everyone when he won that whole thing. Mm-hmm. But you can see why on this performance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hell yeah. And as you say, the 4th. I mean, Jista has a bad sort of pun. Chris takes the L with ease. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, it's Battle Rap 101. Again, when you're sitting down to write, these are the things you look for. Can you split his name up? Stuff like that. I mean, it wouldn't have got into a better writer's repertoire, but there's nothing wrong with what Jista's doing in this battle. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. It's not going to win a tournament battle, but then so many times you see people. I mean, the Soul didn't turn up good enough to win a tournament battle. I didn't. I went out in my first round. Mm-hmm. Matter went out in the first round, I believe. So you know, I think you can take for granted the fact sometimes that you're going to go through against battle rappers like Jista, but he proved against Soul that that's not always the case.
And Chris uses Jista as a thing to multi-off the very name itself. He gets huge reaction. He's really, you know, pumping.
It's well done.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Yeah.
Pumping liquid swords every day, no jizzer. Which is just...
Yeah, and again, it's lyrics like that that get to display his performance as well, because when he goes into his slight double time, he can't be doing that. So he mixes it up. He has these sort of slower, more methodically thought out schemes and parts of his verse where he can really get over the top and aggressive, and then sort of come back into himself a bit when he starts rapping.
And Jista points out an irony in his seconds, which I guess a lot of people are thinking when they watch the battle, because Chris has a lot of your fat bars. Chris obviously has a bit more weight on him back then, you know, and Jista says it's rich from him to even be saying this. You know, what are your thoughts on that? Can a battle rapper attack something that they could be attacked for, and so blatantly? Yeah,
but you have to expect an easy flip in that. You know, that's where the chess game starts coming in. That's where well, if I say this about him, is he going to say that about me? And then how do I flip that round in the third? If I set the seeds for something that he can flip, I better be putting that in my first round so that I've got then time in my third to flip his flip.
Yeah.
So you're setting the seeds, because you'd be ignorant to assume that you can go in and attack him for something that you've done yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And just the cracks are showing in this second, I think, you know, type to get bummed in a prison cell, kiss and tell. It works quite well. But he says, like, your album's called Everyone Hates Chris. I can't argue with that. And there's just, like, silence when he says that.
Yeah, because he doesn't really rhyme it. He doesn't really set it up. And as I say, the guys with the bigger personalities can... And like a Calcium Kid. If Calcium Kid had said it with a cheeky smile on his face...
Yeah.
There would have been the gap between... While the laughter... Not every line Chris Leese has said in this battle is hot. He's got some filler there, but because of the way he's arranged it, the weaker bars follow a really hot bar, and that way you get through your minute and you get constant reaction, and that's what you want. Do you know what I mean? So it's about how you arrange a verse. And I don't think Jista didn't have that in his repertoire when he came up against Chris Leese. Chris Leese murdered him, I think. Sorry, Jista.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had a Bitcoin for every time someone on Battle Rap Resume does multis of food against a fat opponent, everyone does it. It happens all the time. We hear about ham butties and crunchies here in Leese's second. We get waistlines about waistlines. You know, I quite like seafood diet. It means that he sees food and tries it.
See, I wrote that I didn't really like that bar. I mean, seafood diet is an old joke.
Is that right? I'm not seeing that.
I'm on a seafood diet when I seafood eat it. That's what Chris Leese has won this battle already.
Yeah.
Follows a shit seafood line with a hot Lunar class multi. That's what I mean, yeah. So he spat that shit seafood bar, right? And I say shit seafood bar. I say it's shit because it's an old joke.
Sure.
And it's like, it's such an old joke that it probably shouldn't be in a battle rap.
Wow, okay.
But then he follows it with a hot little quick multi that ends with the Zuma class line, and Zuma class was sort of new at the time, so he mixed his material up enough so that it was like, I've got Jista, you know, I'm not that worried, but I still need to come with something that's going to make my next opponent worried, so I need to still come hard. And that's why, you know, the seafood line, I mean, he might have thought that was hot, but as I say, but he could still, when I said earlier about if you're not confident in your bars, you won't be able to spit them very well. I don't think Jista was as confident in his bars. And I think by using tricks like following a line like seafood with the hot Zuma class multi, the confidence remains, because, you know, I haven't got them on that one, or I might not get them on that one, or if I do, I might not believe in the fact that I've got them over on that one, because I've got this one coming up and this one's hot, so I'm excited to get to that one. So it's about being confident in your material, and Leese can do that.
And along with the Mickey Mouse shirts in the audience, another marker of 2011, specifically August 2011. I think this is the first mention of it in the event, but there's quite a few mentions of it. The riots that have obviously been happening.
They were literally going on. When I was walking to Manchester, you could see holes in windows and all sorts. Yeah.
Jesus. And you know, Jista makes reference to it, and everyone else does, and you know, it's a huge thing, right?
Yeah, it was big at the time, man. I had a line against Matter about the riots because I literally wrote the Matter battle and the Phizzle battle in the same weekend. Right. Because I was on my writing game then. Do you know what I mean? And I had a line about it. I quite enjoyed my line about it as well. But obviously, when something big happens, it's writing techniques. It's about using what's going on at the time to write your material.
Yeah, and Chris has won already by this point in the third, as you say. Of all the rap names, you could have picked to use one with jizz in it.
Yeah. Again, a writing trope, you take their name, change it a bit, and then use that to write 10 bars. But if no one else has done it, why the fuck not?
Yeah. Girl rarely had clean sheets like Blackpool last season. I mean, more 2011 shit.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard you've heard variants on that.
Yeah, clean sheet. Yeah,
but he'd already won it by then. He was obviously confident enough not to really go in on a third verse. So
yeah, and it goes all to Chris Leese. Leese killed it, as you say. I think it is a rampaging performance. It is a tournament-winning performance. And he's fucking awesome.
Tom, why do you think that Chris Leese doesn't really get mentioned as one of the best? I mean, I know he had the title shot, but why don't you think he's up there? Do you think it's his consistency?
Potentially,
because he was great against Shuffle. I thought.
Yeah.
But
he's just one of those ones that's just faded from true popularity, hasn't it? I don't know if it's the personality that grates people the wrong way, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or I can't really think what it would be, because you are right. Yeah, he has just such a strong legacy. I personally think he beat Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really remember that battle. Was that a tournament battle? No, that was a title battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, title match.
Yeah. So I don't know, but Tony's got that it factor that means he wins battles, he loses sometimes. I think O'Shea beat him.
Yeah, O'Shea definitely beat him. Yeah.
So, when it comes down to that, I mean, that's why people don't really like getting their battles judged, because it's the worst thing is multiple people coming to you and telling you beat so-and-so. When you didn't get that win and you didn't win that title, so
yeah, it depends who you are, but I appreciate it would grade definitely. And
it's like rubbing salt in the wound, mate. It's like, I can't answer that, mate. When you go and ask for 5,
yeah, but loads of people, people are always going to say different things. I suppose it depends who you listen to. But the next battle is a battle that I just hadn't seen for whatever reason, so I watched this morning. Suus versus Jefferson Price.
No, man, you're a gangster. I bet you're always running away from the law. Scarborough Council, stay off the lawn, that's what the skate park is for. And everybody here knows I'll make your life stop. We're coming out of a recession, so it's no surprise to see this price drop.
Because I get sick of people gassing you, Max. I mean, top 5 is mentioned. Well, maybe it's just me, but I cannot find resemblance. All I see is you playing up to it. The crowd make allowances and no one can find limits. Don't want to be judged on his age, yet mentions it every 5 minutes. Because we get it, you're 16, what do you want? A medal with rocks around it? Anne Frank wrote a book at your age, Max. You don't hear her going on about it.
This is a good battle.
Very good battle. I mean, it's a good battle in terms of, I think they both perform really well. My takeaway from this was that I don't necessarily get the Jefferson buzz. I think
lot of references.
I think
Swagger Jagger.
Yeah, I mean,
come on, Jeff.
I don't know. Really, I think Suus performed. Suus back in the day was a lot better than he was sort of later on. I think maybe when he had his A levels or something.
Got some good fucking bars here.
Yeah, really good. Really, I mean, I had Suus with the first 2 rounds on this battle.
Yeah.
And then the only reason I think Suus didn't get the third was because I think his cadence, what I said earlier, he was rapping too much 1 2 1 2 1 2, and Jefferson had a bit more variety in his bars. But Jefferson opens this, does he?
He does, yeah.
With I've got noted the battle doesn't even start till gone 4 minutes.
Yeah, it's long, highly anticipated. There's a lot of rappers, a lot of logos at the start. And I mean, Jefferson's playing on Suus's age here. Like, Jefferson as a character, because obviously most people know him post-Caustic, post-Wilderness, whatever, retirement, etc. Was he like the Golden Boy? Was he like the Rising Star? Or
I mean, I think he was different to what everyone else was doing at that time.
Sure.
I think a lot of the sort of white guys that were at my age were sort of doing, or in my sort of age bracket, were doing the funny stuff, and he was a bit more serious with it. And I can't really think of many other guys that were doing that at the time.
Right.
Briggsy, I think, was more serious. Shotty hadn't really centred the scene yet. So you look at the lineup, sort of Flex, O'Shea, me, Innuendo. I mean, Unanimous got really serious, but I think even him at the start was a bit more jokey. Yeah. So I think Jefferson definitely had his unique little spot, but I think for me, like, everyone used to buzz because he was in a crew with Soulcon. I remember that.
Right. Thing. Wow, didn't know that. What crew?
It was the Paper Bag All Stars, brown Paper Bag All Stars or something.
Okay.
See, Tom, some of these stories I'm telling you, I've heard you discuss with your guests on Battle Rap Resume.
What, with Jefferson Price and Soul Khan? I know. What episode?
It was, I can't remember now, but someone was talking about this exact thing, that he was, there was a Paper Bag All Stars or something, and everyone was buzzing about the fact that it was Jefferson, because Jefferson's sister was going out with someone who was from America, and so there was a link there. Do you know what I mean? But still, it was a big deal for us back in the day.
Yeah, that's cool. Definitely check out the past Battle Resume episode where I mentioned that. I've done so fucking many.
I listen to podcasts at work because it's like, it keeps me going, because it's just long days and that, and so I've re-listened to episodes a lot just when there's nothing else going on.
Oh, what? Any good ones you've heard recently?
I mean, the thing is, I've gone through all of the old ones, and now I need to give them time, the new ones time, before they come on to me. So I have to sort of have a 6-month gap between it, like binging on them at work for a couple of days. So
fair enough, man. Well, moving forward with Suus, then, who does have some good stuff, picking on Jefferson's skater status. Even just saying he was a skater boy and pointing to his hair is crazy. Yeah,
I've got the old hairdresser bar. Everyone's done a variant of it. I've done a variant. I mean, it literally it's an old joke, but told well, it goes down. So something about he goes into the hairdressers and asks for the the Peter Andre or whatever. So but it's just did it in his own style. So the old hairdresser bar gets 2 thumbs up for me in the middle of Suus's first. Very strong. And then just sort of going on irony that now he raps, he can't kick flips. Sort of the skater difference. It's it's basic, but it's good. It is good. I mean, it is good. It is good. I think. I think, as I say, Suus was a lot better around this time. I think. Do you know what? The best thing about this year, I keep saying it, but everyone was at their peak. Everyone was. Things hadn't got so cliched because there weren't 100 battles out every week, so you could still say stuff, and it was unique, and it was the first time people might have heard it. So. Everyone had the advantage, but Suus was definitely smashing it back in the day.
Yeah. Some nice price lines coming out of recession. See price drop. I like when he mentioned Scarborough Council, stay off the lawn. That's what the skate park is for. The way he says it as well, it's just really well constructed. I think that's maybe one of his best parts of the battle.
And he's a 16-year-old boy as well. Yeah.
Incredible.
When I was 16, I was still trying to work out what to watch now Chucklevision had finished. Do you know what I mean?
And Jefferson's Anne Frank line, he gets a big reaction. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, again, it was so. What Jefferson did, he did really well, and stuff like this. And it's the eyebrows. It's the sort of Simpsons eyebrows, where one goes slightly higher than the other, and they point in 2 different directions. He does that. He's very cool. Is Jefferson Price very cool?
Yeah, he was actually. He did have a good character in the ring. He says that watching Suus and H-Bomb Twitter flirt like watching women giving birth. Child involved, really wide vagina, and someone's bound to get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, again, stuff like that doesn't wow me. It doesn't
like
make
list
my brain
punchlines.
Yeah. Wow, like that. That was amazing.
Sure.
A lot of Jefferson stuff doesn't make me do that, and for that reason, I'm a bit confused as to why he was being positioned in the upper echelons at that point. But
I know what you're saying. Yeah, he wasn't of your quality. Not to compliment you too highly, but it is true. Like, I think watching his battle brings it into sheer light, as well as the Death battle, the Mickey battle. I don't think he was that incredible. But he it all comes down to it. Whatever you're doing, if you're doing it right, if you're successful, then you're doing it right. And he was successful. So as I say, he was appealing to the guy that the sort of not to draw colour or race into this, but he was appealing to the white guy that did like the slightly more serious bars. Do you know what I mean? Sure.
Because there wasn't that much of that about back in the day.
No, and something like got a dick flavoured inhaler in the second from Suus. I mean, bound to be strong.
Yeah, I can't think of where I might have heard that before, and for that, if I'd come up with that at the time, I would have used it as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And then I think you get mentioned in the second here on some pamphlet shit. Gets recalled, which, I mean, you were quite a common target in this event, other events.
Yeah. So again, with the whole sort of being, you know, a generic geezer.
Sure.
Jefferson did the sensible stuff, the sort of real serious stuff. I was the big flamboyant camp guy, and that's what you had to do. Yeah, everyone had to have their own little character, whether it was natural, whether you slightly drew on, you know, reality, but exploded it in some fashion. You had to have your character, and by having that character, everyone referenced me, and then I knew, right, he wants to battle me, he wants to battle me, he wants to battle me. So that's what we were hustling. We were all hustling back in the day. We were all hustling battles. All wanted to be battling this guy at the next event because, you know, you thought you had some good material for him. And I made myself an easy target.
It's quite charming in Jeff's third that he attacks Suus for having a 15k battle. And the Blizzard
that was
battle.
Really good. Yeah, that was really good.
You know, which is just wonderful to see, you know, in these sort of post-Shotty Arsenal times. So it's got fuck all to do with you, you know, going on about the views.
But then it wasn't a true multi, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where that's what I mean by the guys like me, the guys like sort of Innuendo, O'Shea. They would have, maybe not O'Shea as much, but
sure.
a lot of us guys, we would have made that multi because that would have been part of the writing experience for us. Whereas Jefferson was more comfortable with saying what he wanted to and not having to force it into a multi scheme. But so that's why he probably appealed to you know, to other type of fans.
And a member of the crowd faints in Suus's third.
Yeah, he just collapsed. It was like a few seconds before anyone knew really what was going on. Did you know what? There was a lot of standing up. There was a lot of standing still. And I stand up a lot of work, but I'm walking around. I'm walking backwards and forwards doing stuff. When you're standing still and you don't want to lean back because there's a guy behind you and you don't want to lean forward because there's a guy in front of you, you're just standing still. Your back starts to go, your legs ache. He might have been up all night on a megabus. He might have been up all night doing whatever drug. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a lot of sweaty. It was a lot of sweaty men standing around each other, insulting each other. That's all it was.
And you've got to do a flip off it, of course. Suus does that. You know, it kicks off.
Really well, yeah.
Rightly so. Yeah, it goes really, really well. And he just sort of wins the battle. I think in this round, Star Trek: The Next Generation is better.
Good, yeah, I like that. As I say, the reason I give Jefferson that last round was because as much as I liked what Suus was saying, he needed to have a bit more variety in his bars. He needed to maybe have a few 4-bar or 8-bar schemes because he was literally just saying one line, then rhyming it, then the next line, then rhyming it, and it's like, you know, there's a third level of intricacy that can be brought in by making 4 of those lines rhyme, or by maybe having a running theme throughout that keeps getting brought up and you tie it in the end. There needs to be a third level of inspiration there shining through. For me, anyway. So that's why I give the third round to Jeff, but I'd say Suus definitely won that 2-1, and I could see the argument for 3-0.
Yeah, and Jeff, unfortunately, suffers a bit of a stumble, doesn't he, later on?
Yeah. Did you see the mistake at the end after the result was
Yes,
called?
They put the wrong name in the box, didn't they? Yeah. Weird, that is.
Could have saved that for a quiz.
Yeah, Metallacham. No one's going to listen to this, so it's all good. I can pop it in. But the next battle, huge battle, second biggest battle, officially the biggest battle on the Dome Flop channel. We'll get into that in a bit. You probably know why. Lunar Sea Matter, Johnny Vegas, whatever that thing was. I'm still not clear what the exact situation was. Johnny Vegas? Who was it? Mr. Vegas?
Eddie Vegas.
Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas is involved.
Monkey.
So we have Blizzard versus H-Bomb.
First up, big up to Manchester, innit? Yeah! I love you to bits. I live in a nice area, reside in a comfortable crib. I was having a good day, tagging in a couple of spliffs, and you came here to ruin it, you disgusting old bitch. Yeah, it's in a name, but I don't think this chick is the bomb. You wasn't saying shit when you had ZT's dick in your gob.
So maybe I did suck ZT off. watching the programme of Frosty the Snowman.
Oh, we're going on Blizzard versus H-Bomb now. I thought it was the 2-on-2. No, yeah, sorry, you're right. I said that I got mine done in the wrong order. Yeah, right. So we're going Blizzard
Blizzard versus H-Bomb. Which, you know, massive battle. The view count is phenomenal. Unsurprising why, really. You've got one viral golden kid mixing a female opponent. Then
can I ask you a question, Tom, that you could have used for your quiz, but I'm going to ask you it instead. What is this battle and another battle on the card? Why is it the opposite but the same?
Right. Opposite and the same. I don't know. I can only think of the male-female thing. That's the only thing I can think of. Yeah,
so in this battle, you've got an Australian girl versus an English guy.
Mm-hmm.
And in me versus Phizzle, you've got an Australian guy versus an English girl.
Right.
Ah.
Okay. There we go. Well,
Lunar.
Did you get that, listener? If you did, you're better than me. And we, you know, Blizzard at this point, you know, again, like Suus had this kind of, you know, adolescent in camera sort of mode here, developed, you know, in terms of battling, etc. Here with H-Bomb though, I think he's on early brilliant form.
Yeah, I've got a note here. You know, at the start when someone shouts out something as H-Bomb's starting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I shout out, "I love you, H-Bomb."
Yes, you do. Yeah, right at the end. Yeah.
No, was it at the end or was it
at
the
the
beginning?
at the end of the intro. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the intro, because she at the start of Me versus YTV that had just come out, she shouts, "I love you, Pamflit." So I felt I had to do that back to her.
Blizzard says "fuck the GMP" in his intro.
Blizzard was a right little eggy bastard back in the day, wasn't he?
Yeah. Talks of having ZT's dick in a gob. This is Blizzard in the first. H-Bomb's the biggest weapon he's ever seen. Bet you have to beg to be raped, he says.
Yeah, see, I thought that was the biggest weapon you've ever seen was a good bar. H-Bomb, biggest weapon I've ever seen. I thought the beg to be raped line, when I was watching it, because I thought when he battled me, it was the first time he'd really stepped him up, but I think that's a bit touchy. A touchy subject to have gone down, I think.
Yeah, very much
beg
so.
To be raped, yeah.
Very much so. His sort of adolescence showing through, perhaps. Virginity was taken at the age 9 as well, he says. She's done nothing but fuck
see,
since.
that's kind of more acceptable because that is, you know, that is absurd, but
Sure.
I just think rape is sort of a subject you sort of want to steer clear of in a battle, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, because it could, you know, you don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't think, and I think that's a bit too far. And
you know, the way to be successful in these battles, you know, when you get haymakers against you, is to use that momentum, use that force, flip it, reference it. H-Bomb saying, so maybe I did suck DT off.
Yeah, so that was an incomplete flip.
Right.
Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough welling up here.
That's okay.
I'm just going to have a little sip of drink. One second.
Go, man. I'm sure you battlers are used to these lemsips.
So it was an unfinished flip because she should have then tied it off by saying, "And you've got the smallest," or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like she's built this up and it got a great reaction and it was well deserved. And I tell you what, you ask the next 10 battlers you interview. If they're prepared to do flips, 8 will say no, they're scared. They don't want to ruin their material. It's only 2 that do, so fair play to her for throwing that in. Yeah.
And then she says, got the biggest cock out of everyone in Don't Flop, which, you know, he's there as well, and the whole audience heaves forward. And it's a great moment.
TT's loving it.
Big reaction. She gets right in Blizzard's face. More Australian bars than Walkabout do, which, I mean, you know, bars. I quite like...
I've got a bit of something to say about H-Bomb's first round. She starts off with, "I bet you got your name watching a programme of Frosty the Snowman." Did you catch that?
No, that's nice. Yeah,
the reason you didn't probably catch that was because she'd done that flip that got a huge reaction. Now, I know for a fact, and this is, you know, judging whether shall I say this on a podcast or not, but
let's go.
That line was written by Baron Mind.
Okay. Wolvo's own.
Yeah, who was sort of buzzing to tell me that at one of the thing events. But again, it doesn't matter how someone gets the lyrics that they perform. And I tell you what, there's a lot of good writers out there that can't perform, and there's a lot of good performers out there that can't write. And if you can somehow combine the two with one person, then I'm all for it, because you're giving the fans what they want. You're making the event hotter. If you've got someone who can perform that H-Bomb could, I don't care that other people wrote her lyrics. But she should have given it a bit more of a pause between that hot flip that got a good reaction. And I think the reason whoever wrote her bars, and I'm not saying she didn't, but I'm saying whoever wrote her bars for her, they chucked that line in at the start because it was a good line. It was a nice little multi, and I think it got lost a bit in the awesome of that flip.
Yeah. Didn't even notice that. So yeah, that is an awesome one.
Watching a program of Frosty the Snowman, it's a barren line mind all over the place.
I really like. She talks about him choking. Only person that dropped the ball before your ball's dropped.
Yeah, good. It's good. You know, it's good, and it's well performed. She's got enough aggression not to be coming across as awkward, I think. I think she comes across fine, but she's being aggressive.
Yeah. A lot of the comments unfairly say it's all cringy and stuff. I didn't really find it that. I thought actually H-Bomb's pretty decent in this. And I think she works well in the environment she's got. Against someone like Blizzard, this was a really cool matchup, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I got some negative reaction on the comments for my battle, and because it got 100,000 views at least, more than it should have done, really. I mean, I don't know where they've all come from. But it's new people that would normally watch a battle that got sucked in through around that time. But a lot of the comments are for me. I don't understand what he's saying. You know, I don't understand what these British guys are saying. It seems to be a lot of comments on these. So maybe those negative comments about her performance came from people that weren't really aware of the scene. But I think she did really well. Yeah,
I think she did as well. She says "fuck Jefferson Price" at the end of her first. Then shouts out Jefferson. Which is interesting.
It is interesting, Tom, and I'm not going to tell you what I thought when I was watching that, and what maybe forgot, but never put two and two together at the time. But I don't know why Jefferson was being brought up in H-Bomb.
Yeah, no clue really.
Rest in peace.
Blizzard goes up to H-Bomb's chest, says, "What the fuck are those?" Which is just kind of like something you'd only get away with at his age. And I think it compounds well into it. Mickey, if you want to feel worthless, take her to bed.
Yeah. I've got an early bar. I don't know which one it was, Tom. I didn't get a chance to write everything down, but Blizzard starts his second with something that was supposed to be a double entendre, but didn't need pointing out. I should have.
Oh, the cunning linguist one. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah. He's like, I like cunning linguists. You like them because they sound like cunnilingus. It's like, what? Yeah. It's like, it's signposting. Weird from Blizz there. But I mean,
what Blizzard? I mean, it's a rap battle, but what Blizzard lacks in maybe is rap battling. What I can say is every time I've watched one of these battles that has a times change tournament thing in, I've freestyled throughout the beat because the beat is awesome. The beat system that he provides. So I think he was more of a producer than a battle rapper, and he was more of a producer and a grime MC than a battle rapper for me.
He still had some good rounds, right? Good performances.
Brilliant, yeah, he did. But still, I think with lines like that, maybe he was his age or something. But I think he could have been better against Roan as well, in my own personal opinion.
Yeah. Too much freestyle, definitely. I mean, H-Bomb does a classic. I don't really know what to do for my second round, so I'm going to do ironic gun bars.
Yes, and I had... So if Baron Mind wrote her first, then Pete Cashmore wrote her second.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of relying on gun bars.
No.
Like, if you're going to do it 15 seconds and then in and out, do you know what I mean? But the fact that she still got reactions is testament to the conviction in which she performed those bars.
It pops. I wear the Mac. It's not a raincoat.
Whack, but she got reaction for it, Tom.
She did.
Yeah.
She's tooled up like Bob the Builder. And then Blizzard does like a census, in a sense, in the third of the current crop, all the people she's fucked and the inherited traits, Briggs's hair colour, Pamflit's faggotry.
Yeah, again, another Pamflit reference.
Goes into the rhythm, which is quite strong for him when he performs like a grime MC, as you mentioned. Aussie girls getting slewed by the British. Jackass dying drunk like Ryan Dunn.
Yeah, that was this the one where he did the
pow.
That was really good. That was really good. That was really good.
And he was like signed by Wiley or something. This is mentioned by H-Bomb in the third.
Yeah, I mean, there was all sorts going on with Blizzard at the time. I couldn't really keep up with it. There was all sorts of potential for him. I think maybe he, at the end of the day, you've got to look at the age of these kids. Do you know what I mean? And unless they've got someone there that's sort of really helping them through the whole experience, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
It's all about luck. You can take that first step, but that doesn't mean you're there yet. And I think maybe he took that first step, he got knocked back, and now he needs to readjust himself and you know, try again, because he got that foot in the door more than most, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, he was nearly there.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it is an amazing performance from him. And I think H-Bomb's excellent as well in this.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's deserving of its view count.
I think this is Blizzard's best performance, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I think he never really murdered it like he did this. I think he was good against Lego as well.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was, and the pressure was on there post and he killed it, especially the third. Let's get into a classic pamphlet. I think this battle is one of the few battles that got me into battling. I remember watching this over and over again, absolutely adoring it. Still, I think it's fantastic. Lunar and Matter versus EDP and Frisko.
And you could handle the drugs in your heyday, but you look fucked now, Frisko. All that spunk and ecstasy has give you come down syndrome.
And you talk about drugs a lot, but this is where the fun will stop, because I'm not talking pills when I say you two are getting double dropped.
Yo, Balski, would you battle this fag? And he was like, giggity go for a piggity pull. I thought you were taking a piss out of you. Till I went on YouTube and I checked out his tracks and it sounded like dibbity dibbity too.
Who's that fucking hell, man? Fix up, man. He's a really dirty bloke.
I know he is, son, but times is hard and 30 nought is 30 nought.
Really reeks. Plus she's got a peg leg with a wheel that squeaks. Listen, if it comes to deadlock, I'm gonna put your gran in a headlock and force feed her eggnog.
And do you know what? There's 4 people in this battle that deserve the shine that it got, in my opinion. Yeah.
You're so right.
All for different reasons as well.
I mean, both of them are brilliant teams, aren't they? ADP and Frisko especially are hypnotic. They're symbiotic. They ride off each other. They read each other's minds in such a compelling, just a really impressive way.
Do you know what, the way they delivered their lines, right? It's like a stamp that says this is Lunar. This is EDP and Frisko. And they just stamp each round with this stamp. And it's like, this is exactly what we are and this is exactly what we do. And that's why Lunar's little impression and Matter's little impression in their verses was so funny, because it's like that gibbity-dibbity-doo thing, whatever it was. That was awesome, because it was exactly what EDP and Frisko had been doing up to then.
Yeah.
EDP and Frisko have got a complete style of their own, in my opinion. And although it is just a variant on the toilet humour, it's their own style. It's their own delivery.
They mentioned in the intro, which is really cool, and I think I mentioned this with Lunar and Matter as well, that they were responsible for getting them onto the BBC Three. But that's sort of where they were doing the shot through the eyeglass and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I heard of Frisko and EDP before, when I was supposed to be battling K-Snatch to the test 3. My mates were buzzing about the fact that I was going to go and do an event that Frisko was performing at, because they loved Frisko and EDP. Right. So they had a name before Don't Flop, I'd say. That's cool. And obviously they've used that to con the BBC into believing that they did stuff that they didn't in order to get on a documentary. So that's how these things work, really. Do you know what? You promise the TV people you're going to do something, and then you have to do it.
Yeah. And these verses of this battle, I'm sure, are scored in hundreds of thousands of people's minds. Fans deeply. Everyone knows these quotes, and Eddie Pre, even just like fuck her up the bum with a courgette. Pushing a gherkin until it's really fucking hurting. His face, the squeezed features of Frisko. Yeah. I mean, the lines are well written, but they're so well performed. It's like what you were saying before about you need to have those 2 key ingredients. And I think the material is perfect for the performers and the audience.
Yeah, it's those 2 basic aspects. You've got lyrics and you've got performance, and you can either do none of them, you can do one of them, or you can do both of them. And I'd say that they've got the performance more than the lyrics. I think the lyrics, bacon roll, gaping hole, left nip, cleft lip. There's not much there, but the way they deliver it is so good. As you say, there's sort of taunt expression. That you're laughing at them as much as you're laughing with them.
Not
in a bad way as well, but they are performing.
Yeah, they are performing so well. And
when I was in Manchester, I first moved to Manchester. I ended up there was a blizzard was doing a night, and I ended up back at Frisko and Eddie P's house, and they put the battle that me and Frisko had on, and they were sort of enjoying themselves more so than I was that evening. Let's put it that way. And I had both of them, one in my left ear, one in my right ear, and they were literally just sort of spitting drum and bass lyrics. And they I don't know if they've got the same relationship now, but at that time they were literally two halves of the same personality. They were nuts.
Yeah. Everyone's laughing so hard in the crowd, really belly laughing. Talking of sucking the fart out of Dot Cotton's bottom, which always stuck with me. They had these sort of crude, immediate images. Talking of Lunar's lisp, which is a good sort of angle for someone to attack him with.
Just even it's the way that Frisko delivers it though. You've got a lisp in it.
Lisp in it, yeah.
And it's like that in it. It's like that's what you need. You don't overcomplicate it with telling me why the fact he's got a lisp is funny. Just tell me he's got a lisp, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, he has got a bit of a lisp. And then I'm doing the narrative in my own head. Yeah. You've fed the seed in, and I'm growing the plant. And that's what simple toilet humour should be all about. You don't have to overplay it. It shouldn't be overplayed. It should be as simple as it can possibly be. And then saying you've got a lisp in it is all that needs. And you're writing your own story then. And they were probably the best example of pure toilet humour. They were Beavis and Buttheads personified.
Yeah, and this battle as a whole provides a perfect dichotomy of 2-on-2 strategies. One is like Eddie P and Frisko, two bodies, one mind. One is more like Lunacy and Matter, where it's just he forms a verse, occasionally say the same punchline together, and it's interesting the difference. Yeah,
Lunar and Matter were still going back to back very nicely though. There was it was 4 and 4 done really well.
Yeah.
It was so you as you've pointed out. You had the two aspects of 2-on-2s displayed there. You had Eddie P and Frisko, who were one brain performing as two, and you had Frisko and Matter. Lunacy and Matter, that were two individuals that were performing together very well, which made it such a classic. Because I think you could have taken Eddie P and Frisko aren't as high in the totem pole as Matter and Lunacy, but you take any other two battlers and put them in there at that particular time in Manchester, and it wouldn't have gone off in the same way that it did.
Yeah, unbelievably so. You tell little girls your hair colour's Moulin Rouge.
Brilliant.
I like when he turns to Eddie P and he's like, you just come out the woodwork when there's a 2-on-2, and like the way Eddie smiles and nods. I love the interaction these guys have.
Yeah, he knew he wanted to end on. Who are you? Do you only come out of the woodwork for a 2-on-2? And then he had Moulin Rouge obviously came in, and then he formed that whole bar out of that idea, and that's what you want. I've said it before, right? When you're sitting there writing your bars, it's like wallpaper, yeah. It's like you can keep picking at tiny little bits of wallpaper and like 5, 6, 7 hours later, you've got this whole wall's worth of wallpaper off your wall, or you can be lucky and pull a little bit and get a whole sheet and just slowly pull it and it all comes off as one. And when you can form a bar and write it perfectly, it becomes easy. Do you know what I mean? It becomes easy. And I think Lunar at that time knew exactly what he was doing to write the kind of bars that people were going to react to. And it seems like it's effortless from Lunar.
Yes,
more than everyone else. I think everyone else you can consider concentration, but I think Lunar at this time knew exactly what he was doing and exactly what the crowd wanted.
Yeah, you're so right. And punches just kind of those. Why didn't I think of those? So obvious, so beautifully constructed. All the spunk and X's giving you come down syndrome.
Yeah, I've got that come down syndrome. That's probably the first time I'd heard come down syndrome. I had heard Down syndrome, brown skin tone a few times.
Right. Okay.
There was a few times that I'd heard that, but I'd never heard come down syndrome, so that was a good use of it.
Eddie B and Frisko talk about having a shit off, which is quite interesting.
What else would you expect, Tom?
The sheet and tarpaulin scheme, just where they go with it, really. I think it's just a great expression of battle rap at this time, and just how people could be hilarious in a sort of long form, not just one punchline, constructing these kind of quite intelligent, dense to a certain extent ways of writing. And you have the Lunar haymakers throughout the battle. The family tree one was huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just before that, I've got the fact that when Matt is right at saying one of his things, he says something like you've got more viruses than a broke movie fan's computer has.
Yeah.
See, that displays the writer in Matter, right? Because he didn't just say a movie fan's computer has.
Yeah.
The fact that he added broke in there means that he wasn't as concerned with the rolling aspect of the multis, and he wanted to... A broke movie fan means you have to actively go online and start illegally downloading these films. So he was that concerned with, and that's why I think Matt is a good writer, because you can't always be about the sort of the sort of flow. Basically, he was telling a story and wanted to make it factually accurate, and he had to add the broke movie fan instead of just the movie fan.
Yeah,
that's the note I've got for that one. But the faggots can beat me and beat Matter and me family tree. I was in the crowd when he dropped that, and I tell you what, it was the hypest thing I've ever gone through in my life, Tom.
Jesus Christ.
The whole crowd went mental, honestly.
Every slag that I meet as well, it's kind of the whole thing is constructed perfectly.
Yes.
And there's it's one of the biggest punchlines in Don't Flop history, I think.
Brilliant, yeah. All I can say is I can't remember much about my time as a battle rapper because I was usually so caught up in what I was doing. But I remember being in the crowd for that and losing my shit, and everyone around me losing my shit, and it was good to have experienced Lunar when he was about like that. Yeah, I bet, man. I bet it is a wonderful battle. I mean, any more abiding memories from the battle? I've got in the third. He's got the big Lunar line in the third is this. You've got such an absurdly huge cervix. You had to learn to walk before. Yeah. See, and then he's got the somebody shook my hand.
Oh my god.
Yeah. See, that got a bigger reaction than the first one, but I've heard variants on that shook my hand thing in the past. It's the idea that in his brain, and I hope he come up with it. See, I always assume that people haven't come up with stuff because I'm always like, how could they have come up with that? But if he come up with the idea of someone having to walk before they were given birth because it was just such a long journey. Then then I give that to him more. But obviously the second one got the bigger reaction because it was like one huge haymaker after the other. Yeah, it is an incredible double bunch. And respect to Matter as well, I must say. I mean, we mentioned the broke movie fan before, but all in all, he spars with all of them. He's as good as Lunar. You know, a lot of people point out in Matter battles, oh, you're in Lunar's shadow, blah, blah, blah. But I think he's equal. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got to look at the fact that the Moon, Shadow, Lunar, you've got to, it's people talk about that because it's easy to say the sun is in Moon's shadow and all that sort of stuff. But obviously Matter teaming up with the guy that potentially became, besides O'Shea, maybe Kruger and he's sort of in the top 5 in England. So you're always going to be in the shadow of someone like that if you're Matter. No offence to Matter because he's certainly up there, but he's not top 5. None of us are really. No. So I'd say, I'd say Tenchu, Lunar, Kruger, O'Shea, and top 5 in England of all time. Yeah, I think that's a good list. I mean, let us know in the comments below what you think your list is. Maybe you have a top 5. Indeed, if you were at TTT7 or you have any memories from it or any, your favourite battles that you've just seen in general, like most people. Pam, we get to your battle. Yeah. You battled Sigourney Phizzle. Yeah, I've made no notes about this, Thomas. You're going to have to lead this one. That's fine, man. That's fine. I love this battle.
We got to Cash G, but it was closed and there weren't no one there. So we ran over the road to the centre and went and got himself some new underwear. Then he went next door and bought some tampons and an issue of Marie Claire and ran round the streets of Brighton proclaiming, I'm a fucking idiot and the government don't care.
Other than that, she's nothing special. I would have tried to fuck, but her cunt's an issue. They've been told there's mould and tons of gristle. It's got a rusty middle, stunk of petrol, and there were these lumps of blood and pus and cum and shit too. All she wants in a Christmas gift, if God really did exist, is to not look like Spock in a ginger wig and maybe stop getting syphilis. The only time she's rinsing is when washing a dinner dish. Her pubic area's hairier, it's gotten a little big, it looks like an exact replica of a gorilla's fist. Preparing for this battle, you say you were battling every month, so it wasn't so much as a kind of, match up, but I guess you were hyped for it.
Yeah, I mean, she makes a few references about sort of how I was inboxing her and that. There was a sort of big Facebook group that Cron used to do before an event. And Cron used to like winding people up anyway to try and get the best out of them. I remember when I battled Frisko, he told me Frisko was coming really hard and I had to really over-try for this one. He liked winding people up. And he was winding me and Phizzle up, so we were giving it to each other before the actual battle. But I knew what angles I was going to go for. It was going to be ginger, skinny, and then the typical girl bars.
Sigourney rocking the nut shirt.
Yeah, I had a flip in my head. Something like, I'm going to put nuts on your chest. Yeah. Like a T-shirt, but I never got it out, yeah. But.
The words girl on girl are used as they're introducing this, and it gets big reaction in the crowd. You say, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it was because Phizzle and H-Bomb was the first ever girl on girl battle.
Right, yeah. And
then Mickey shouted out how this was the second ever one. Because it was me and apparently I'm a girl, so...
Right. You say horse in the intro or something to that extent. I can't quite make out what you say.
No, pause.
Pause, I see.
Pause was my little catchphrase, because obviously it's pamphlet. Pause.
Sure.
Right, yeah.
Sigourney goes in, she says your trainers are rancid. She's flow-based. There aren't as many punches as yourself here. She sort of calls you a tramp and gets reaction. People are on her side, I think. She says her Uncle Paul will dry bum you.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I'm only giving you my opinions here, right?
Please, that's what we're here for.
And I'm not saying that girls can't write battles, right? But if they could, there'd be more of them doing it. Let's put it that way. But anyway, so if H-Bomb had sort of good writers writing for not good, right? I say that in a negative way, but I mean writers that were used to the battle scene. Maybe Phizzle was writing. I think she was more natural in her bar selection and maybe wrote a lot more than maybe H-Bomb did. Again, no offense, H-Bomb, but your performance was too good against Blizzard for me to think anything else other than it had been written by people that were experienced in the writing process. But Phizzle maybe was writing my bars with people that were more used to writing raps to beats.
Sure.
So she was writing her bars based on the fact that there was a beat present when there wasn't, and that's the difference between battle rap and normal rap. That's why some people can do one and not the other.
And. A defense is laying out your targets in your own round, predicting what they might say. She says, I'm skinny, I'm ginger, I've got a big mouth, we all know this. Something about saying we all know this, I don't know, it makes it a bit more effective. People latch onto it a bit more. She starts you off with a bar that, your vagina is better than hers.
Yeah, so this is what I've been saying to her in these little inbox messages that we've been arguing over, do you know what I mean? That you're skinny and ginger and whatever, and then she'd be taking the piss out of me for being gay or whatever. But she used that, my vagina's better than yours against H-Bomb.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where that had come from.
Okay. I haven't actually seen that battle, so you say she's got a vagina.
Yeah, so basically that whole verse was written in a day.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, no one had ever written a whole 90-second verse that had been multi-syllabic. I think a guy called Manifest Destiny, because I'd watched all the battles that come out back in the day, do you know what I mean? So I kind of knew everything about battling back in the day, when it was literally grind time, don't flop, and king of the dot.
Right.
And you had the Australian League and one or two other things popping off. But so I used to watch everything. And as far as I'm concerned, I had the first 90-second full malted round, because everything in that round, you could take line 1 and line 27 and they'd rhyme. It all rhymed with Jessica Rabbit. That's where the whole thing came from. Yeah, that's where the whole thing came from, was Jessica Rabbit.
Yeah,
and I had stuff like a ketamine sandwich in there.
Heroin addict.
With a heroin addict, Jessica Rabbit.
On benefits of a smelly clit resembling haddock.
Yeah, it's definitely that bitch.
Definitely.
I had more like wrestling match, sensational Sherry versus Brett in a classic. So I had all this kind of extra material. So I had literally probably about 2.5 minutes of just pure multis, and then I read them to Kruger and I read them to Innuendo. And their reactions sort of made me decide what to cut out. And then so it was all a multi-syllabic that first round. So that's why anything was included was because of that. I mentioned Jest, one of your favourites.
You do mention Jest, which I noticed. Yeah, very cool. Even if you were Jest, men are better at rapping. which is a great multi.
With the exception of Helen. So these are my genuine opinions. I thought H-Bomb was the best female rapper out at the time. So, you know.
Mexican Bandit got a more sexier accent.
Yeah, see, and at the end of that, right, I just battled YTV the event before, yeah? And I had called him fat in my bars, and he wasn't fat. But I didn't really know what he looked like, so it was kind of, I just thought he was fat and he wasn't. So when I said, you basically just Frisko with short hair, freckles and glasses, or long hair, freckles and glasses. Yeah. The fact she didn't have glasses on, I was worried that people were going to attack me for that, so then I felt like I had to defend myself for it.
Sure.
Also, I'll say this while I remember it, because I might not remember it later. I think I won more battles at To The Test events than there were To The Test events.
Wow.
Because I won 3... To The Test 1, I wasn't a part of Don't Flop. To The Test 2, I won 3 battles in a tournament. To The Test 4, I believe, was when I battled K-Snatch and won. Then maybe I didn't do To The Test 5. To The Test 6, I beat YTV. To The Test 7, I beat Phizzle. I don't think I did To The Test 8. To The Test 9, I beat Frisko and I beat Evila and High Def in a 2-on-2 with Pedro. And then To The Test 10, I beat ZT, which takes me 10 wins out of 10 events. And then I battled Gwame the next day To The Test 10 technically, but the after party. And if you think that I beat Gwame, answers in the comment below. Then I won 11 battles in 10 events.
Jesus.
And some of them I didn't even perform at, Tom. So you can tell that's the kind of thing I was putting out there at the time.
And Sigourney sort of stumbles in the second. A lot of local references. Corey Mile gets referenced and people big it up in the audience. It's a bit meandering. She gets out of it, I think. I think, it's not a full choke at all. But just not really punching. Apparently Aston Kutcher and Lurch into Google Images as yourself.
She does well. There's never an awkward pause or an awkward silence. She's always saying something, or she's always going in a direction. It doesn't always necessarily end in a positive note, but the fact is she never stops. And you've got to give her a lot for that, because people, if they're real, she wasn't a sort of top tier battle rapper, but she was in a position where she was having to perform as such because it was a sort of novelty battle. It was a boy versus a girl. Yeah. So obviously, if she was a boy, maybe I wouldn't have taken that battle at that time. But she did. I think she did really well to never stumble, never really heavily choke or stop or crumble under the nerves. Because I know she was nervous.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And this again, similar to Jista, this was the last battle of hers as well. So there you go.
Yeah.
She didn't come back after this, but
I think she did a jump off event after this.
Did she actually? Okay, it's not.
She did one of those Charlie Sloth things.
Oh, okay.
Hashtag Charlie Sloth is a twat.
Yeah. Is he a twat?
Yeah, he's not really. He's probably not really a twat. He's probably very lovely to a lot of people, but he screwed me over with an event in. But he basically, I'm sure I've told people this story before, but I did an event in, where Bolski won that opportunity in Leeds to. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was also at that event, and I think I performed really well in that tournament. I had a lot of hot bars, and basically Charlie Sloth told the crowd to boo me. And then when he played highlights of everyone on Radio 1, which was like my one big opportunity to get on a Radio 1, a big BBC radio station, he played me going, at like the end of a third verse against some no one. Do you know what I mean? I had nothing to say. So all my hot bars he just ignored. So that's why I don't like Charlie Sloth. Yeah, so hashtag.
Yeah, fuck. That sucks, man.
That's nasty, isn't it? Yeah. It's like he's supposed to be putting rappers on. That's my one big opportunity, and I didn't really get it. So I mean, well, it is what it is.
Yeah. And at the start of your second, talking of celebrities, you said that Chronicle promised you a celebrity for your next battle, and it's the daughter of Janet Street Porter.
Yeah, buzzing with that one. It didn't really get much of a reaction.
No, it's nice.
if you are trying to think of a line whereby you're comparing someone with Janet Street Porter, to have it as "and it's the daughter" you can't get much better than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a man, and if you want one, you better be a bloody good cook, because that's not how a normal girl's body should look.
This second verse is hot. If the first verse was good for what it was, this second verse has got some bangers in it.
Onslaught, yeah, Mancunian Skank Union.
Yes, see that coming after that one. That one, I was sitting there in my living room trying to come up with basically a whole multi for it, because it's like, you're the leader of the Mancunian Skank Union.
Mm-hmm.
How do I set that up? How do I finish it? Fuck it. Just put it in there. Do you know what I mean? You're the leader of the Mancunian Skank Union. That's one line, 2 multis, in, out, done. Doesn't need any more explaining than that.
Yeah, it kills, man. And you talk about Randy Macho Man Savage dance, about fanny farts.
Yeah, you know, I mean, on the performance, I was running out of breath when I performed that, but you know, what rhymes with fanny farts, and then you kind of get into Macho Man Randy Savage dance. I think, if anything, actually, the Macho Man Randy Savage dance was, I need to end it with an and that's what fit perfectly. But fanny farts was the basis of that one. Matter's on as well, taking a piss out of Matter, because as I said before, I was trying to get that battle with Matter. So although I'd already confirmed it, again, with me being referenced in so many battles, you're just throwing little insults out there, it's like throwing little worms out there. Innuendo sitting in his little tent at the side of his little lake trying to get fish on his rod. That's what we were doing. We were throwing our worms in the pond and seeing who sucked the hardest.
She mentions, as it's been mentioned a lot, the evening of August 8th, 2011, the riots. This is in the 3rd Sigourney. You going back to Cash G and getting your iPod back. It's kind of a long narrative section that doesn't really have punches. You got some new underwear, apparently. She appeals to someone in the crowd, I believe a friend of hers, who apparently, true story, like bit a kid's ear off, or dog bites a kid's ear off or something.
I haven't told this story, but randomly I've remembered it from the first verse. Or her first verse, about Uncle Paul. I actually ended up staying at Uncle Paul's bed that night.
Wow.
Me, Kruger, I want to say Pedro, and my mate Mark. Anyway, we didn't have anywhere to stay, so we ended up staying at Sigourney Phizzle's house. And she lived underneath her Uncle Paul, who wasn't actually her uncle, it was a sort of friend who was older. Sure. Who offered us his house. He slept on Sigourney's sofa, so the 4 of us slept in his house, 2 on the sofa, me and my mate in the bed, because there was 2 of us and we were mates. So technically, Uncle Paul got me in his bed that night, but I can guarantee you no funny business happened.
Thanks for clarifying. So, you know, all in all, though, you must look back on this battle proudly, man. It's a great showing.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't mentioned anything about my 3rd verse.
Wow, but, you know, there's notes to come.
My 3rd verse I thought was my best verse out of the lot. In the first verse I only used one scheme, in the second verse it was a lot of different things, but in the 3rd verse I think I've literally got 4, hopefully 3, but potentially 4 different schemes in that whole thing. Because I had the line, of course I'm going to body this lyricist, you've got the body of lyricist.
Let's go.
Who was a skinny rapper at the time. So I had that, and I made this whole thing, you need to learn a girl can't be bossy that isn't fit, go take $5 to the doctors and give him it, and come back to you've got a boob job and some bigger tits and we might possibly give a shit. And your pubic area is hairy, it's gotten a little big, it looks like an exact replica of a gorilla's fist.
Yeah.
And the only time you're rinsing is when washing a dinner dish. So it was just it's just this 3 different multisyllabics in that 3rd verse. That I'm proud of. I'm proud of that battle. I am proud of that battle, and I'm proud of sort of the output that we were all putting out at that time. I think was great.
Yeah, definitely so. And in your 3rd, you talk about for her ketamine is horse tranquilizer. And you've got a gift, Pamflit, for describing people's vaginas. You say a cunt has a rusty middle. It stinks of petrol. Everywhere there's lumps of blood and piss and cum and shit too.
Yeah, so I think that was my weakest part of that first verse, but I still think it was that was a finish of the idea of the only thing I like about Sigourney Phizzle is that her bum is little. That was the multi, and then it was a case of just trying to get out of it. But
she's jealous of your feminine side.
Yeah, because she was sort of calling me a tranny in these little inbox sessions we were having and that. So it's like, well, you're not very feminine yourself, so sort of tie it all up with that.
Yeah. and you win clearly. You do a bit of a spin when you win. You have a little bit of a flourish.
She thanked me because when we were called into the middle, I think she felt a bit sort of intimidated. And she said afterwards, she thanked me for I did a silly little dance for about 2 minutes while we were waiting for everything to get set up. And she said that sort of took her mind off it. So,
nice. And cool at the end as well. I don't know if you realise, Lunar in his interview says it's probably the most entertaining battle he's seen live to that point.
Oh no, I didn't know he'd said that.
Yeah, it says that in the sort of judging post-interview thing. So, final battle, the last battle of the day. I'm sure listeners, if you've not been aware of TTT7, you've been listening to this, there are some absolute corkers to go back and watch. You know, it really was.
That's the reason I picked this event.
Yeah, it's a great choice.
There were so many, you know, as I say, even your Jistas and your Analysts, they still give you something.
J Toker, man. Big up J Toker.
Big up J Toker all day. Get him on, bruv, because I tell you what.
That'd be a good episode.
As I say, he was one of the founding fathers, along with Analyst, but I think J Toker, you know, he could probably have some stories about what went on in those first few events.
And I bet he'd be a lovely guy to podcast with.
Yeah, I just want to go and give him a great big squeeze.
So Mickey Worthless versus Els is the last battle of the day.
But it is true that I murk dudes. It is true that I murk dudes, on the real. I feel bad battling a spastic. It's actually going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. Partly because I feel bad preparing bars for a monk. But more because you're so dense, you don't know what the fuck's going on. Tonight's Mickey's funeral. When they get back to the hotel, her and Kruger will be lighting candles. Because talent-wise, this is like Pele in his prime against Titus Bramble. In Sheffield, Mickey, I caught you kissing H-bomb on the lips. That says it all.
Nah.
With all due respect, with all due respect, think of all the things that have touched her lips. Listen, all the dicks and sperm combined, you dirty guy. You're nearly 35 and you still ain't learned to drive.
I mean, a good choice for you?
I think I've written a few times in my evaluation of it. I think this was the first time first battle of the lot I wrote about, actually, so I think there's a lot more notes than the rest of it. But what I got out of this was that Mickey wasn't really truly good until he moved onto a bigger stage.
Right.
I think he needed more people there who were on his side, who were prepared to laugh him through the pauses. Because there are pauses in this from Mickey. Yeah. There are stumbles, and I think the beauty of Mickey is how he gets out of this. He's like Frank Spencer. The beauty is how he gets out of these stupid situations that he gets himself in. Do you know what I mean? Me turning up with my 3 rounds that I've been practicing for ages and that I've written everything out, and then Mickey turning up who's just not thought about it until sort of 24 hours ago when he called up Kruger and said, "What have you got for me?"
Yeah.
But it's watching Mickey get out of it that a big crowd can appreciate more so than a smaller crowd who are just looking for sort of more pure, funny, intricate bars. And I don't think Mickey ever really had pure, funny, intricate bars. I think Mickey was all about personally. And as I say, Mickey was more funny when he was getting out of a situation than when he was putting himself in it.
And interestingly, says when he's introducing Mickey, he says, if you only watch Don't Flop and never met us in person, you'd think we'd have a fucked up relationship.
Yeah, and they do have a fucked up relationship.
It's like, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mickey begins, you know, I agree, yeah, he sort of coasts to a certain extent, and he does have that personality, even on a smaller stage, that can kind of, you know, plaster up some of the holes in the hull. But, you know, he feels bad battling a spastic, felt bad preparing bars for a Mong. Again, this doesn't really work on me reading it back. But, jump off a cunt, Mickey says to the camera.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mickey would be so sick if he just tried a bit harder. Do you know what I mean? Because I think he's got, or he had. See, there's 2 Mickeys. There's this one, and then there's the one that smashes it on the big stage. So you can't really compare the two. But
sure.
At this point, I think if he just needs to try a bit harder, in my opinion. I think I've got note here. Someone was talking in the background near a mic. Which obviously, when you're watching it back, that puts you off it. But I think the fact that people were even talking in the first place shows that Mickey wasn't really putting his all into this. No,
not as much. And I think Els does well.
Els. Do you know what? Els is brilliant. Again, I've talked about Suus. I've talked about Calcium. Els was peak Els here.
Come on.
You probably won't find a funnier Els than this battle, I think.
it's his kind of disdain, his perplexity when he delivers these bars, the look on his face. The film on Mickey's life, Get Rich or Die on Job Seeker's Allowance.
Yeah, see, that's at the end of a long line of hot stuff. Els where was he? About 5th or 6th in my list?
Yes, you did mention him up there.
Yeah, but no, he definitely was in my list, and you can't get on the top of anyone's list without being really, really good, and he is really, really good. He at the start he's genuinely pissed off, then pulls the funniest face. He flips. He just looks like he's about to twat Mickey, and then he pulls a silly face. Everything's just funny. Everybody's vibing through Els at this point. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's waiting for Els to say something funny. It's like I can't think. It's like, all right, on an earthquake, you've got the whole world's the whole ground is moving, and yet on what's the graph where you detect an earthquake?
Seismograph.
Seismograph. You've got one little point that's moving left and right about 4 inches. So you've got everything, and then you've got it represented by this tiny little movement. And Els was representing everybody in the room that day in terms of just hanging on his every word, waiting for him to say something funny.
Yeah. And this is Pele in his prime to Titus Bramble. H-bomb.
Chronicle's laughing.
Yeah.
Chronicle's laughing. Chronicle's gone from being stressed about worrying whether or not people are going to be funny to just really enjoying himself.
Yeah, and I think he should be proud of what they accomplished that day, definitely. So many people showed up. Mickey, so again, quite basic. Hell's bells, Els smells. He begins in the second.
Can I just say as well, Els in the first, he says about paying for that hard white. He talking about cocaine and talking about his penis. Now, until I'd rewatched this battle, I had the term hard white in my head just floating around, because I have these things, I have these sort of stages where I just think about something funny, and I can't even remember how they got into my head and why they're funny, but it's like it just sort of travels around my mind at a particular time. And someone describing their penis as hard white was just every time I got sort of bored at work, I'd think about that and visibly laugh. And then when I saw this battle again, I was like, right, so that's why hard white's funny. So big up Els for that.
Yeah. Fuck Nintendo, Mickey says. Pissing on your bitch is how I play Wii Sports. Jefferson's laughing at that. And he sort of again stumbles, as you say, for I think Els is a lot more. He says Mickey looks like Russell Brand if he was a dustbin man.
Yeah, brilliant. I've got that written as well. Yeah, really nice round. Els gets reactions throughout the whole thing, and that's what we're there for. We're there to get reactions. It doesn't matter how you get it, but the look on Els' face alone gets me laughing. So he's already won me over before opening his mouth.
Yeah. And Mickey mentions the riots, Northern mugs compared to Croydon being burnt down.
Yes, it was me that shouted Mickey because I wanted him to stop that.
Yeah.
Call him Manny Head's weak. Doing that in their own back garden, man. Weak. One thing you can't say. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll try and prove they're hard. So I actually shouted Mickey to try and get him to stop.
Was Els mentions a tramp turning up to a Sheffield event. Do you know anything about that?
I wasn't at that Sheffield event. It would have been the first round of the Times Change tournament.
Okay.
And if Mickey was there, it's probably because he got lifts everywhere with her back in the day. So Mickey was at every event. So I wouldn't have been able to get to that event because I wasn't performing. That's why I used to perform at every event, Tom.
Right.
Because it meant that if I couldn't afford to get the megabus there, I would try and make sure that I got in the boot of someone's car to get there. Do you know what I mean?
And Els says that Mickey looks like a Puerto Rican gasp.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? It doesn't matter what Els said. You just read that back to me, and that wouldn't have been funny. But I can just picture the stupid look on Els' face.
Oh yeah.
And God bless him. I'm saying stupid look. Els played off of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the chaos. It's the wonky nature. It shouldn't work, but it does.
And that pretty much brings us to the end of an incredible day of battling. As I said, this was Saturday, the 13th of August, 2011.
Sorry, just a last little note on that.
Yes, please.
So Er's been advertising his hats in the start of some of these videos. And Mickey advertises his own brand of hats. and instantly moves his hand to his head, to his hat. Just a little bit of psychology there, I noticed. Because in the Mickey interview you had, that's one of the things that Mickey brought up in terms of the reason why him and her stopped being friends.
Right.
So, because Els says you're always wearing that stupid hat, and Mickey says, "Nah, bruv, this is brand new."
Right.
If you ever went around Mickey's house back in the day, Mickey had about 800 different hats.
Yeah, he was always bigging up certain websites, wasn't he? Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
He had 800 different hats in his bedroom.
Glory days, glory days. Well, this has been To The Test 10. No, this has been To The Test 7, I should say.
See, To The Test 10's the one that everyone buzzes on about, but honestly, To The Test 7 has no need to be as good as it was, but it was a hidden classic.
Yeah, you're right. To The Test 10, I should say. Me and Sean are going to do that soon on another episode of this show, Classic Events Rewind. I'm also going to do World Domination 2 with Jonathan Ringer, who we've had on the show. Any other events, Pam, you can think of that are like classic, don't flop otherwise? I
mean, the ones that
some
are brought
of the grind time ones, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I missed the 5th birthday. I wasn't there.
Right.
I don't think I performed at the 4th birthday either.
You didn't, weirdly, no.
No, there's a story behind that, but I'm not going to tell you that now, Tom. I might as well keep something for next time.
We'll do it on a future chat.
But actually, just give me 30 seconds, Tom. You can edit this out now. I've got 2 corrections that I made a note of that might not still be saved on my phone. But
okay.
30 seconds there, mate.
That's all good. You can, if everyone wants to get in touch with the show, battlerapresume@gmail.com if you want to come on, do an episode like this, I'll be glad to have you on. Patreon as well if you want to support. We've changed the Patreon up a bit now, where when you subscribe, you get access to a new feed that you can listen to on your phone with all the Patreon episodes. Just download them whenever you want. Put way more content on there now than originally on Patreon. You just download one episode at a time, which was laborious. I'm sure you've experienced that. So yeah, follow us as well at BattleRapResume. Leave us a review on iTunes. That is really, really appreciated if you help push up the algorithms there. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Pam, have you got the notes? Have you found them?
Yep, I've just found them here. Okay. It says, make sure you like and subscribe to battlerapresume.com and get the Patreon because there's a lot of good new stuff coming out there.
There is, and I just want to end as well. Me and Respect BA are recording an episode soon, just about freestyling, and we're going to just go through classic freestyle battles, Juice and Soup and that, all the way up to WRC, Sharon and Pet. Yeah, it's going to be really cool. So looking forward to doing that. And I told him just before we recorded ourselves that I was going live with you, and he said, "Cool, tell him I said what's up." He was very respectful to me after my battle with Tony went up. Told me I got him into battling, which was nice of him.
Yeah, absolutely. They all did. Back in the day, they were the guys that influenced me. And it's a pleasure to be in the lineage after him in terms of people that have influenced other people. And honestly, I can't stress enough. England, British battle rappers, British battle rap fans, let's bring it back to the jokes. Let's bring it back to the stupid humour, because at the end of the day, that's what sets us apart from the Americans. And we will always forever be in America's shadow while we continue to try and copy what it is that they do. Fuck King of the Dot. Fuck America. British battle rap, baby, coming back 2018. This is the year. Chalked out, Red Alert, Code Red, Premier Battles. Check them out.
Let's go.
2018, battlerapresume.com.
All right. Well,
it's been a pleasure.
It's always been a pleasure, man. I want people to check out Top 10 Funniest Don't Flop Battlers. Obviously, Battle Resume 20 with Pamflit, which a little while ago now went through all the battles up to a certain point. Mastermind, Pamflit lost to O'Shea, unfortunately, in episode 2 of Mastermind. Very closely tested. I don't know if you noticed, Pamflit, our little interview that we did at April Fool's, Don't Flop Isn't Don't Flop Anymore. It's got almost 7,000 views. Like, it's got quite a few views.
Else was the clickbait, wasn't it, bro? You might as well have said
revealed all.
Don't tell the bride contestant who married Rachel Toppin as Jason Donovan.
Right. Yeah, check out that episode as well.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's all bollocks at the end of the day. I need to stop drinking before these interviews because I end up going on a bit, but
No,
I've really enjoyed it, Tom. It's been a great pleasure, and I hope people enjoy listening to the bullshit stories that I've got to tell about.
No, this has been great, man. Obviously, Pamflit will be back on the show soon. Thank you to everyone for listening. Go check out all these battles, the ones that you're familiar with. You probably haven't seen Toker versus Analyst. You probably haven't seen Chris Leese versus Jista. You know, definitely check them out. Revisit all the great ones. Pam, this has been a pleasure. Thanks so much, man.
Don't flop all fucking day.